nu am să cred în noi. Hai să cucerim lumea. Hai să fim mai buni în fiecare zi. Hai să fim super. Superbet. Împreună suntem super.
Bun găsit la Tech Summit 2021, eveniment organizat de Newsweek România în colaborare cu partenerii noștri Superbet, Newton și Asociația Organizatorilor de jocuri de noroc la distanță. Vom avea astăzi invitați de marcă, cel mai mare șahist al tuturor timpurilor până în momentul de față, marele maestru Garry Kasparov va fi alături de noi în debutul acestei dezbateri. Vor fi prezenți și specialiști din domeniul tehnologiei, din diverse companii și din diverse ramuri ale industriei. Așadar, vom începe această dezbatere cu Garry Kasparov. Today we have the opportunity to talk about technology with one of the greatest chess player in the world, the great master Garry Kasparov, who played the first matches against computers and then used the computers in training. Let's start with the questions. What is your interaction with artificial intelligence at the moment? What projects are you developing now?
No, look, I'm not a developer, but I just, I keep my interest in the field. It spreads from AI to cybersecurity. I've been working with Avast Software as their ambassador, security ambassador, for the last 5 years. So that's why I had many opportunities to meet people at the cybersecurity conferences. And I also have an interest, and I wrote dozens of blogs and articles on security and privacy. So this is how we prevent individual data from being hijacked, and also some people not feel comfortable that their data is being accumulated in the hands of the in the databases of big corporations. Also, I continue working. It's more philosophically on human-machine relations. I suggest for those who are interested my latest article in Harvard Business Review with Professor De Kremer. It's about AI, and I strongly suggest that we don't call it artificial intelligence, but rather augmented intelligence. So this is the concept that we champion includes AI as the three types of AI. Artificial intelligence is just for machines. Then human and authentic intelligence, and the combination, which is the key, is augmented intelligence. It's very important for us to move away from these horrible images of the Hollywood movies, the Terminator, the Matrix, something that paralyzes our minds and sends the wrong message. I tell people that AI is not a harbinger of utopia or dystopia. It's not a magic wand, but it's not a Terminator. It's another tool, and we should treat it as a tool created by humans to help us to solve problems. And while AI is threatening many jobs and industries, as every technology in the past, it also helps us to create new industries and new technologies. And I think instead of trying to preserve, which cannot be salvaged, something that is it's doomed, because technology always makes us more advanced, and we will look for new more industries that will be more adequate to the economic and social demand of the time. So we should not cry over spilled milk. So we just have to look into the future and I see great opportunities. So the machines in the past, they made us stronger and they made us faster. So intelligent machines will make us smarter. So instead of whining about machines making us redundant, we should look at them as an opportunity to be promoted.
Yes. What is the applicability of AI in the area of education?
Oh, it's limitless. Yeah, because we have to first recognize that the current educational system is it's antiquated. It's so old-fashioned. It's still relies on a teacher as a center of universe, the only authority in the classroom, the source of data. While every kid now could swipe his or her finger on the screen and to collect more data in 5 minutes than the teacher could tell them in 1 year. And it's very important for us to understand that it's no longer relevant to teach kids not just to give them data, but to teach them how. So how can they apply this data? So it's not very specific preparation because we don't know exactly the jobs that will be at demand 10 years from now, 15 years from now. What we know that many jobs that are very prestigious today, like 3D engineers or social media managers or drone operators, didn't exist 10, 15 years ago. So it's very important for us to change the angle of our work with kids and to make sure that the whole process is interactive. It's no longer one-way street. So AI, created a world where we have to make this new generation of kids very comfortable with the process of procuring information and also recognizing that it's the data itself is not a solution. It's not about collecting data. It's about asking the right questions. It's making, helping them to develop a critical mind. And that's what we need for the future experts working with AI, because machines can answer many questions, but at the end of the day, it's for humans to ask the question. So we just have to recognize that even if we believe to the last few decimal places, so in this process of decision making, we have to make sure that our contribution to this human-machine collaboration will be the most effective, and we have to start the process from early days by training kids, to become this important part of this human-machine equation, and not to be afraid of machines and being alien to the intervention of new technology.
Thanks. How important is AI in training at chess players and other sports?
Look, in chess, we know that machines now are dominant because even the simple chess engine that you can download and use on your laptop is stronger than Magnus Carlsen, the current world champion. And you can hardly imagine any chess player, even just relatively weak one, without being trained by a computer, looking at a database and just checking all the lines with an engine. But it's also has a somehow negative effect, and as having a lot of experience working with young stars for nearly 2 decades, so I could see that in many cases the machine became too dominant, and this is something that happens not only in chess, but in chess I could tell you though how it affects the minds of the players, because they start looking at the problem from the machine's perspective. And it's very important that we're not becoming slaves by the screen. So this machine is a very important helping hand, but it should not become that's the dominant force guiding us. We should use machine to find the path, but not for machine to tell us which way to go. And in chess we can learn a lot about human-machine relations. And I always try to make sure that our students, and I'm talking about very strong young players, grandmaster level, that they will release their mind from the sometimes too powerful influence of the machine.
Okay, how important is AI in gaming and betting industry?
Oh, look, there's no industry today that can live without using machine learning. And of course, when you're talking about industries that depend on such a small margin, whether it's a stock market or betting industry, you must bring the best technology. But again, best technology is not the ultimate solution. It's a best technology with people who know how to use it. At the end of the day, the most successful companies today, they know how to match machines' immense power with element of human creativity that will make this combination unbeatable. So it's the working with these small margins. You must have machines as your backer. You need this tremendous power that helps you to always dig deeper and deeper and just always being at least one step ahead of your competition.
Okay. Why haven't heard about matches between humans and computers in last years?
Because it doesn't make any sense. So it's the machines are much better, and I say that's even the and very average chess engine on your laptop is better than Magnus Carlsen. And if you look at the specialized hardware and professional chess engines like Stockfish, so they are so much better. It's the difference between world champion and this kind of computers today is about the same as between Usain Bolt and Ferrari. So yeah, you can have the match, but it will be so much one-sided. So that's why this game is over. And what we need now is just to see whether we can have future competitions where human player plus machine will face another human plus machine, and that will help us to create much chess of a much higher level.
Okay, who is the future's best Czech player in your vision?
Look, I don't know. Right now, Magnus Carlsen is a dominant force. There are a few very, very strong young players in their teens. Is the very talented Iranian player who lives in France now, Alireza Firouzja, is one of the now top young stars. But there are others. There's one talent player in Russia. There's one very talented player in America. So, but is yet to find out who will challenge Magnus Carlsen in 2 years' time. But what we know that the new stars appear, and now with the massive help of computers and new technology, we see the evolution of the game of chess, and it's though it's a little bit different from the chess I played before. I still feel very, very comfortable watching it.
Well, thank you very much for your answers. It was an honor for me to be with you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll take a little break and we'll turn back in a few minutes.
Hai să continuăm să credem în noi. Hai să cucerim lumea. Hai să fim mai buni în fiecare zi. Hai să fim super. Superbet. Împreună suntem super. Am revenit la
partea a doua a evenimentului de tehnologie organizat de Newsweek România. În această parte vom avea specialiști din această industrie, specialiști recunoscuți pentru performanțele lor și pentru afacerile pe care le dezvoltă. Desigur, subiectul este același, impactul tehnologiei asupra vieții de zi cu zi, dar și asupra unei multitudini de afaceri, da? Unei zone foarte, foarte largi din sfera afacerilor. Vorbeam ceva mai devreme și cu marele maestru Garry Kasparov, spunea că este imposibil să trăim astăzi fără tehnologie, de altfel noi acum vorbim facem acest eveniment prin intermediul tehnologiei. Așa că vom continua, cum spuneam, cu cea de-a doua parte. Welcome to the second part of the Tech Summit, an event by Newsweek Romania. Our guests are well-known specialists in technology. I'm pleased to introduce you to Dragoș Buriu, founder, CEO Newton, and winner online, Bruno Kovacic, Chief Technology Officer, Superbet, and Răzvan Ștefan Tecuceanu, CEO Midplace, Germany. Okay, we'll start with Dragoș Buriu, founder and CEO Newton. The first question is, Newton has the biggest gambling portfolio in Romania. What do you think is the biggest challenge for it to become a market standard?
So, first of all, I want to make sure that you're hearing me.
Yeah.
I hope yes.
All clear.
Okay. Secondly, I would like to thank you for the invitation. It is.
You're welcome.
I heard about this summit a few days ago, and it was really interesting because somebody would approach two things that are a little bit taboo, and one is obviously gambling, and us being inside this field of work for so long, have always known that gambling is taboo. Now AI is becoming a taboo subject, obviously helped by Hollywood, like the master Kasparov said.
Terminator.
Matrix, so he's and Terminator. So congratulations for putting these two subjects together, because it will give us the opportunity to explain one and each other and how we see that they can work together. Coming back to your question about the integration of AI technologies in especially Romanian gambling, I think we are very far from having something like that. Even if we are talking not about AI but machine learning, because as you know, both are very software dependent. To have AI algorithms or machine learning algorithms, you need big software capabilities, and few of the companies operating, especially in Romania, have invested in the software, with obviously some exceptions. So one company, in order to touch this subject of AI or machine learning, needs to look very far into the future and be prepared to properly invest with a potential gain of the future. So I think we are a little bit far away from that, but obviously you need entrepreneurs that can look into the future to introduce these technologies into the market. Hello?
I hear you, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Which part of gambling industry can make a better use of AI or machine learning software?
So I think that, gambling is very diverse. So when you say gambling, you say betting. When you say gambling, you say lottery. When you say gambling, you say slot machines or a live dealer or anything else. And I think that the biggest challenge here is for all these products to be joined in one and to have a big data collection on all of them, so that at some point you can design algorithms that can work with this data and produce outputs. I think the retail, for example, where we are most known, is collecting zero information. So you cannot talk of anything inside the retail industry, because the information collected there is minimum. just financials. When you come back to the online, there you have a lot of information that is gathered, but the question there is how you put this data together, because even the biggest gaming operators in the online have different platforms that have different types of data. So one of the big challenge also there is to aggregate this data and segment this data in order for it to be used by an AI algorithm or machine learning. So in my point of view, as I said, one company should have a strategy of first making the first step of data collection, and then obviously either employing technicians that can design machine learning algorithms, or even use tools, external tools like Amazon SageMaker for implementing some of the ideas.
Okay, do you have any plans of integrating either AI or machine learning into your products at Newton?
One of the advantages of Newton is that we are basically the biggest data collector of gambling information in Romania, in retail, and we tapped in the online market recently with the development of an online platform. So I think we are in a pole position. We are in pole position when it comes to implementing something close to machine learning or AI. We've rewritten our core software starting 2019. It was finished last month. That can aggregate data in real time from different inputs. And that one would be retail and one would be online and so on. And you have in Romania operators that tap in all the levels of gambling. You have companies that have betting shops on the street, and they also have an online, and in the online they use different products. So as I said, Newton has made a big step of this new core software that can aggregate all this data. And on top of this, obviously, it is the second step to implement machine learning algorithms that will either make gambling more efficient, or it will work in the benefit of the player. So again, like the master Kasparov said, you need to know what your objective is, and then giving enough data, you will be able to produce the accurate output. One more thing that I think we would need to focus is about how this industry will be seen into the future, and us being in it, we need to be more worried than others on how it is looked at. And integrating AI could be another threat in the face of the player. As I said, even normal human beings are reluctant into thinking about AI. So take the example of a player, a slot machine player that will sit in front of a machine which is run by AI. So he will basically have no chance. So I think we should be responsible. The moment we think that we can introduce these industries, we should be socially responsible and produce either by legal enforcement or by types of association some standards that can protect the player socially. Obviously, an AI tool can also be developed to detect gambling addiction, to detect abnormal behavior. So I think it would be an opportunity for us to introduce the first AI detective for gambling, and this detective that is basically a machine which is not paid by salary just from the company that is making money, will be able to spot directly any player with even in the starting of an addiction. So as I said, the AI can be an opportunity. It is us who decide how to use it and how to properly implement it, so that it doesn't become a taboo subject and it becomes more like something we can speak about openly.
Yeah. Can you talk about good and bad AI in the gambling industry?
Like I said before, you can have an AI algorithm that is integrated into into the algorithm, the payout algorithm of a slot machine that will properly detect when you are tired, or when you are on a hype, or when you are more prone to change the bet, and so on. And most likely, since AI, we are assuming AI is going to be very intelligent, you will not feel that you are sitting in front of an AI. So basically, no matter how good you will be in front of a machine, like in front of machines playing chess, you will have no chance into keeping your money in the pocket, let's say. So as I said, this is a pretty dangerous path, because once this happens, you have other issues to concern yourself about, because nobody in this industry wants an addicted player. And although the common knowledge is that we are all looking to take the most out of the players, especially big companies never have this approach, because we know that in order to protect our industry, we need to be socially responsible. So this is a bad AI, and a good AI is one that will observe the patterns of a player to present him better ways of entertaining him. So instead of showing an unappealing soccer match, it will show a basketball game that this person really likes, and it will present himself with a good offer. And the best, as I said in the other question, the best AI would be the one that will stop you from gambling, because now there are policies of responsible gaming that are implemented, especially in the online. So basically, an account can be blocked by the company if the company detects suspicious behavior, meaning this person is becoming addicted. But you cannot monitor hundreds of thousands of players in real time. So an AI would have the capability of doing that, and given a social task in order to protect the players, I think he would be very good at it.
Okay, can you tell us something about your future plans with Newton, for sure?
Future plans of Newton are always dependent on the technology we have in hand and of the operator's desire to implement these technologies. As I said, there are a few companies that are in the front of technology. One of them is invited here in the panel, and I'm sure Bruno will say a lot about what their future plans are. But we work with other operators that do not have the same appeal into aggregating technologies into their business operations. So then it leaves us the duty of convincing that technology is what every company nowadays needs, that you cannot, obviously a person cannot live without technology, but some companies live with little technology. The moment we will be able to create an approach of each company that new technology and better technology will make a better business, and as I said earlier, a better responsible one, then we would change the paradigm that is now active in the gambling industry. So coming back with a short answer to your question, first we would like to change the paradigm of using technology in gambling, and then given the fact that we are the most advanced in this kind of field, to introduce this technology into every business that operates in Romania.
Thank you very much for your answers. Next guest is Bruno Kovacic, Chief Technology Officer, Superbet. Hello, Bruno. How are you?
Hello. I'm fine, thank you.
I can hear you, but a little slow.
Do you hear me? Okay.
Yes. Can you put the microphone up?
Well, it's here. It should be.
Yeah, I don't
Test.
hear you. Now is better. Okay.
Okay, let's try.
Okay.
I can
It's
try
perfect.
speaking
Yeah,
louder.
okay. Okay. Why did you sell your own startup to Superbet? Axilis was already a tech brand in Croatia. Could you develop it or work for any major companies? Why Superbet?
Well, it's a combination of factors. I mean, but I think it was a really good opportunity because, I mean, I got sold on Superbet story where I saw the opportunity of, company scaling rapidly through the Central Eastern Europe region, but also later on really scaling globally and becoming potentially number one player in the world. I think it was a good it was a good decision because, as you can see, in the last few years, we really have grown a lot and have become a very strong player in the region and are really on the road to become a global player. I mean, sometimes those stories seem impossible because Superbet was basically a retail business from Romania, but I firmly believe that like UiPath become a global player starting from Romania, that the Superbet will be such a star as well in the future. What we are building inside of Superbet is significantly different than most of the betting companies. We are really evolving as a true technology company, much closer to how companies look like in Valley, I would say, than the typical betting company. And that was the main thing that sold me. And I believe that will be the best bet for me to develop and also for Axilis, the company that I originally founded, to grow further.
How is AI used in your activity, in your company?
Well, we use it in a lot of places. We operate at a pretty big scale. We have a lot of data, so optimizing whatever we can is of pretty big importance to us. So I'd say there are two big areas. I mean, there are plenty of them where we use it, but let's say number one would be places where we can reduce the manual work needed. As we grow as a company, it is pretty hard to keep up and hire more and more operations people. So we want to automate the tasks as much as we can. And the other is to get and use the insights we cannot do in conventional ways. The example for the first one, I would say, is let's say customer segmentation. One of the very important things for us in betting is that when people start to bet with us, we are trying to identify as soon as possible whether they are fraudsters, whether they are just trying to abuse the system, or they are legit players, or they are potential VIP players that we want to treat the best as we can so that they don't leave us. As we are growing, detecting those things has become significantly harder through the time, because the way we used to do it was basically human manual work. People would be looking at the players, looking at some KPIs, and then deciding whether someone is a good or bad player or VIP. Those decisions, when we analyze them, I mean, they do have some basic rules. So you can pre-filter some of the things, where you are 100% sure that someone is fraud, etc. But a lot of that comes down to intuition, which is very hard to code or to develop in a conventional way. Therefore, we want to develop basically an AI. It's a machine learning model that helps us segment those users as soon as possible. So, and it works very well for us. So nowadays we are able that after the first place bet, we detect 75% of the fraudsters immediately. And for the rest of them, we are capable of segmenting them into the risk areas that then need some human attention, but with using our tools, they have much less things to look at, and they have much more information to create an educated decision at that point. This is the place where we just basically automated human work, but in some areas we also, using AI, we can create decisions that weren't possible previously. For example, during such segmentation process, we are also trying to detect the future VIP players. Because when we see that someone is a high value player for us that has a potential to stay with us long term, we want to ensure we treat them well from the very beginning to ensure that our ops team gets involved and so on. And by using machine learning model, we have been able to shorten the time for us to detect such a player by 5 times, which means that we can protect ourselves, protect the player from churning way sooner than we were able before, when we were using only manual and human work to do so.
So, what is the impact of technology on a customer?
Well, it's big. I mean, the examples I gave you were more, let's say, impact on the company, but on the customer, there are a number of things. For example, personalization of the content is something that you see across all the industries. Like you go to Netflix, you will see, based on your previous history, you will see some recommendations of the movies you will like. So that is an obvious one that we also do, which is a specific challenge for us actually, because this field is very well developed now in the tech world. A lot of companies use it for different applications, and for example, on our gaming side, it's fairly straightforward to do. We have games that are persistent. Let's say they are on the website all the time, and based on the customer's behavior, we can, to a certain degree, predict which other games would be of interest to them, and we can show it to them. However, a pretty big area for us that we are trying to develop, but it's much more challenging, is doing the recommendations in sports. Because unlike many other applications of such models on the internet, in the sports we have the time component. So when you recommend someone a movie, this movie is there all the time, and it's equally attractive to the person, more or less equally attractive to the person anytime throughout the day, week, or month. However, with the sports matches, attractiveness or interest of someone into some particular bet or some market changes with the time. When someone is looking a live match, something that would be interesting in the first minute of match is most likely not interested 5 minutes before the end. So developing such models, we believe, will give us a pretty big edge into showing a better experience to users, but it's also significantly more complex than what we currently have on the market.
What AI can do to prevent addiction?
A lot. This is something that is also on our map, and it's not that hard, to be honest, to implement. So we are looking to start the way we are segmenting users into good players, bad players, and VIP players. With a similar technique, we can also detect gambling addicts very early on. If we detect VIPs before they become VIPs, you can do the same thing for gambling addicts. And as Dragoș said, this is a very, very important thing to our industry, because we want to ensure that industry doesn't have the stigma that it has now in some of the markets. And we can do that by being really socially responsible and ensuring that we help addicts as soon as possible, and offer them help as soon as we detect there is a chance of them becoming well.
Thank you very much, Bruno. We must take a short break and return quickly.
Hai să continuăm să credem în noi. Hai să cucerim lumea. Hai să fim mai buni în fiecare zi. Hai să fim super. Superbet. Împreună suntem super.
We are turned back at Tech Summit, an event by Newsweek Romania. Our next guest is Răzvan Ștefan Tecuceanu, CEO of Midplace Germany. Hello.
Yeah, hello, and thank you very much for your invitation.
You're welcome. I know you have a presentation. Please show it.
Okay. So, over the last 2 years alone, 90% of the data in the world was created. When we enjoy a coffee, more data is generated in this time than all the data ever created until the beginning of the year 2001. We live in the world of data. This data comes from everywhere. It comes from the transactions that we do. It's come from the shopping history. It's come from our social media uploads. We brush with millions of information every day. Some are relevant and some are irrelevant. But our capacity is very limited. In the financial world, it is very difficult for a professional trader to listen to all this news. The time when I could predict, for example, on the basis of good weather, that the companies producing beer should deliver good result, it's over. Today, everything is dependent on much more data and news. A single tweet from a well-known personality can bring incredible fluctuation on the market. This is why we need to manage and correlate our data. This is why we live now in the age of AI. The AI can make correlation of all this massive information. The AI can tell us which information are relevant and which are not. Robots can help us search for trade opportunities, execute those trades and exit them profitable. The result of this study, Man versus Machines, show that robots do better when we look at risk-adjusted returns, not just returns. It shows something about discipline and systematic approach to trading, because I think humans would always be tempted to have higher returns and not high risk adjustment returns, which means you have higher returns but you blow up very fast. Big waves comes that you can predict. The trick is to have a decent risk management that you allow, if you get your bets wrong, that you have enough bets that are uncorrelated with different markets so that you can be okay. The collaboration between professional traders and robot advisor could be the key to success. If we look to the trading, to the financial trading, we see that we have the following situation. The bank opens the gates, the online banking, so that means that the bank system is connected to anywhere across the world, and the transaction must be made in maximal 5 minutes. In 5 seconds, a bank must know if he's enough money. I am not in the sanction list, and this transaction doesn't be fraudulent. On the other hand, we have the dark web. This enables people involved in fraud to share their experience together and collaborate together. If a technique works, they will apply it to a different bank. And these people are very, very good and creators and inventors of fraud techniques. McKinsey make a study about this problematic. This graph, you see it here, it's pretty scary, and it's showing the average number of fraudulent per merchant per month. You can see it's going very, very fast. Frauds causes billions of dollars in the year. This is why AI was the only fast solution to minimize these attempts. To meet these requirements, they use and they train neural networks to be able to recognize real transaction and frauded transaction, like how the neural network recognize a difference from a cat or a dog. But perhaps, in the other hand, it is time for us to move away from this outdated image of the bank system to a more secure process of blockchain transaction. With blockchain, we don't need a third part as a bank anymore. And by the way, the blockchain from Elrond is the one of the best scalable and secure blockchain. Not today, but tomorrow, blockchain will completely disrupt the way we know our interaction today via the internet, via the document management, via identities, how we will advertise or recruit or do e-commerce. Artificial intelligence has already arrived in sports. F1 cars have more than 150 sensors installed on these cars. And AI algorithms is then used to analyze the data from the sensor and give the coaches the data to make better tactics. AI can calculate on the fly statistic. AI can use the AI can understand the language of the player. AI can understand the language of the coaches in a live match. AI can recreate the noise from these actors in a live match. But I believe that the real revolution in sport will come from the fan perspective. I think in the direction how Snapchat turned our social media use and even entire social network, put information, put probabilities, put or names or explosions, effects into a live game video on the character. Basically, add special effect into these live videos, add AI live statistic, create different augmented content for these games. And this video based on your own settings, on your own AI can be shared with others. You can share your bet and winning with other in a unique manner. This augmented AI bet can bring revolution in the market. AI turned our data into real gold mine. AI can correlate our data. AI can make wonders for the security transactions, but AI, it's bound by the rules we set for it. It's bound by the structure we created, and AI try to optimize this process on this created structure. AI can achieve much more if we transcend our old data structure to define new one. I think in this direction, in a combination with blockchain technology, blockchain with AI, I think in a new internet, a new art from internet, where your data, our data, will be our data forever. I think that this will be the future, and I don't speak now science fiction. We from Midplace we start, I hope this year, a project in this direction with Elrond company to make revolution in all these markets. Thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Luăm din nou o scurtă pauză înainte de a trece la publicitate. Le mulțumim din nou partenerilor noștri care ne-au sprijinit să organizăm evenimentul de astăzi. Aceștia sunt Superbet, Newton și Asociația Organizatorilor de Jocuri de Noroc la distanță. Așadar, o scurtă pauză de publicitate. Revenim imediat.
Hai să continuăm să credem în noi. Hai să cucerim lumea. Hai să fim mai buni în fiecare zi. Hai să fim super. Superbet. Împreună suntem super.